Welcome to Digital Hospitality. I am your host, Shawn Walchef. This is a Cali BBQ Media production. If you're new to the show, welcome. Our deep thesis is in digital hospitality. Every business needs to be digital first, especially brick and mortar business. And every business is in the hospitality business, whether they know it or not. Our deep thesis, the work that we've been doing since 2017, is knowing that we're not alone. Rising tide lifts all ships. Curious people will find each other. Technology can help improve our business, our hospitality businesses. And we believe in 4 C's: content, commerce, communication, and community. And the intersection of all those things just so happen to intersect at what we call the smartphone these days. But what we're excited about is connecting with leaders and the best storytellers and hospitality professionals on earth. Today, we have the founder and CEO of Culinary Agents. You can find them online at Culinary Agents. Alice Cheng, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Shawn.
So we love disruptors, and I've been in the restaurant business for long enough, since 2008, to know that the first job posting that I did was on Craigslist. So tell us, what is Culinary Agents and how have you disrupted Craigslist?
Yeah, thank you so much. We are the go-to hiring platform for the hospitality industry. You know, it's funny you should say that, because back then Craigslist was like the best option
Yeah.
in many ways. And so as we live in this constantly evolving digital kind of technology world, it's always every step gets better and better. We are a job marketing and applicant tracking tool that's designed specifically for the hospitality industry. And what's really unique about us also is we focus on the worker. So the design, the career development, the journey, the research capabilities on our site is really to help talent connect and discover great opportunities, while we're also enabling businesses of any shape and size to have access to better tools.
So 1,940,000 members. When are we going to hit 2 million members?
Oh, we're getting there.
By the time this podcast drops, hopefully.
Yeah, all I need is a little ticker behind me,
There you go.
right?
You're very close. Tell us
Yes.
about the 2 million milestone. 2 million members
Yeah,
is a big deal.
absolutely. I mean, as you know, the 2 million hospitality users, wrangling hospitality users is, sometimes a challenge in and of itself. We're extremely excited. I started the company about 12 years ago with the idea of, this industry deserves better. The people who spend their days in and out serving other people, they were working with lack of tools to help them better find opportunities, connect with employers, and vice versa on the employer side. So we're very excited to reach this milestone, and continue to grow more. We add about 50,000 users per month.
Wow.
We support all levels: front of house, back of house, hourly, salary, people who are aspiring to work in the industry, people who have been dreaming about career changing, and are following really, as hospitality skills and experience is translatable across so many different career paths, whether they be in different pillars of hospitality or outside of hospitality. And we see more and more of that on a regular basis.
Can you bring us back 13 years ago to pre-launch, pre-Culinary Agents, pre-idea, and tell us
Yeah.
what propelled you to launch? And
Yeah,
where,
how it
and where
all
and where did
started.
the name come from?
How it all started. I worked in hospitality for years when I was in high school. It was my first love, my first job. I'm going to date myself. My first job in everything yogurt in the mall.
There you go.
Minimum wage back then was like $5.15 an hour. I loved it. And then I also was working retail simultaneously, and then I also took a hotel restaurant job, and I got to work. I got to work every brunch every week for
Yeah, there you go.
2 years.
Welcome to the business.
Exactly. And within the restaurant, but then also banquets and catering and mainly front of house, but of course got to dabble in helping when people called out or didn't show up. And I loved it. And I remained really friendly with people I worked with. I kind of felt like that was home to me, but I needed to get a real job once I graduated high school. And I moved to back into Manhattan and started going to school full time, and I needed to work. So I took a mailroom job at IBM and
Wow.
started. I'm a mailroom story there,
There you go.
and really started forging my own path because I wasn't the greatest test taker and I didn't enjoy, all the Asian stereotypes didn't really fit with me. And so I was the hard worker and the creative, and I was like, I'm going to figure out a way to forge my own career path. And started the mailroom, got promoted pretty quickly to be an assistant supporting sports marketing, digital media, and got to work on all these cool projects back in the day when the digital era was kind of coming to fruition.
We're still in
And
it.
oh yeah,
We're still deep in it in 2024. I don't think
yeah,
99% of the world doesn't understand what's going on, but that's the opportunity. That's the really cool part
absolutely.
about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And seeing how digital was transforming the media industry at the time, and working with music. And then I transferred to Silicon Valley, and I was a digital media specialist, specifically around video. So I got to work
Cool.
really closely alongside a small company called Netflix, as they were transitioning
Wow. Come
from
on.
shipping
Really?
DVDs. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of, it was the most amazing time of, I would say, my personal career,
Wow.
and to see what it is today is like mind blowing. Kick myself every day for not buying stock. But anyway, that's for a different podcast. Um, and throughout this time, I'm working with startups. I'm working with some of the most amazing, smart people, and I'm spending my free time with my friends who are in the industry. And I'm loving, building a new network of hospitality friends on the West Coast. I'm still in contact with my friends on the East Coast. I've become like this personal agent, if you will, helping people with like statements of works for some private work and side hustles. I'm helping them write their resumes. I'm kind of rewording their, you're not just a server, you're a problem solver, and how do you present yourself? What skills do you have, and how you can, and the more I did that, I'm like, aren't there tools to help you do this stuff? Like, are there career pathing, or is there just, you know, can you find a mentor? All these things that I was afforded at IBM that, didn't exist across hospitality. And my friends who were business owners, they would draw straws to see who would be on Craigslist duty for that week, right? And
Yeah.
nobody wanted their inbox flooded with, all these responses,
Correct.
some that were relevant, some were absolutely not relevant. And it was a time-consuming slog. And then it's all in somebody's inbox. And so that was a really inefficient process. So long story short, I actually had the idea of culinary agents about 6 years before I finally kind of pulled the
Really?
trigger and did it. Um, because in the Valley, LinkedIn was kind of coming about, and I was like, this is great. It's a great research tool for me, looking at companies and just maybe even like sales, pipeline generation,
Mhm.
but also to connect on a professional level without like connecting as a friend, because, you would
Yeah.
meet people and you would network, and didn't have something like that in this industry. And so I was like, you need something like a LinkedIn meets Match.com for jobs, but there's so many nuances in this industry, so it needs to be really specific. And the idea I couldn't shake it. I had the idea. I was like, somebody will figure it out. I'm going to keep doing my thing. And then, the more and more I would talk to people about it, and nothing existed. Some kind of targeted regional things kind of existed, but Craigslist was the best thing, that was available. And I was like, well, technology is like continuing to develop, and Craigslist is, it's great for what it was, but it wasn't
Correct.
keeping up with the needs. Um, and so, one fine day, I just, I quit IBM, cashed out my 401k and said, let's do this. And
Wow.
here we are. This is our 12-year anniversary.
Do you remember the first business that you signed up, or one of the first memorable businesses that you signed up that kind of got it?
Absolutely. It's Daniel Boulud, Dynex here based in
Wow.
Manhattan.
No
Yeah.
way.
I
We
will.
just had Sebastian on our show. He's
Oh,
phenomenal.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
And what they're doing right now is just it's exciting. It's also a great example of just kind of people in like growth, a business in growth mode. And and really kind of expanding and being creative and collaborating and jumping into different areas and supporting. Um, so this is a great example. I kind of look back and I joke around with Chef Boulud every now and then when I bump into him and I'm like, you were, you may not know it, but I was still at IBM at the time, and it was right after they just opened DBGB in Manhattan. And I was like, usually when a restaurant opens, you have a higher chance of seeing the chef owner earlier. So I went there for dinner with a bunch of my friends, and I saw a chef walking across, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. And I just went up to him, and I said, I have this idea. I've been, really thinking, that it would work. Is this something that you would use if I built it, And he just looked at me. He's like, and he just starts like riffing, like, yeah, and then you could do this, and you need this, and I'm like, okay. He's like, it doesn't exist, and he just said, when you build it, let me know. And I was like, okay. So, I think that's something like entrepreneurs, you have an idea, and ideas are a dime a dozen, but when you talk to your target market and you get those little bits of motivation and you keep checking yourself, you build the confidence and you just have to do it. I mean, there's never a good time. There's never enough, savings, all that stuff is once you see that things are just aligned and you can't shake it and nobody is doing it the way that you would do it, like
Yeah.
just do it. And
What an
so,
incredible story. Would you remember going back to him when you were ready? When were you ready to go back to him?
yeah, so I built a prototype, and I brought it to his team, and I had a friend who's still a friend here. At the time, he was his wine manager or sommelier on the floor, Raj, and he was like, yeah, and he connected me to the HR team, and I got to sit with them, and they were just so open to hearing. They were and I think that's something that I see is a real strength in business owners now, even still, is like whether or not you've been burned by a tool or technology, something you tried, people are still, eager to learn and eager to understand like what might work for us because, unfortunately, there isn't like a perfect little stack of technology or, a playbook of things that you can do to run exactly the same way that'll get you the results that you want. But businesses are able to kind of piece together what works for them, and really embrace it. And so the teams were like, yeah, let's try it. They were using Craigslist and a couple of different things. And, we did like a little pilot and they realized they were like, wow, we got a lot less applicants. But out of the 17, I remember out of the 17, they hired 11 of them, which was like a
Wow.
number that they were like, and they weren't just random positions, they were posting all these things. And that was the aha moment for them. And they're like, all right, and we were very early at that time too. Like I had no team really.
You're
I
talking
was,
to the team?
oh, I was doing, I, I admit this now. I was doing like QA product adjustments on PowerPoint and like, sending it to my, development team and like giving them instructions with like bullets and they would make the changes and then I do QA again. And so back then, for them to take a chance like that and they're still, we do their entire all levels, front of house, back of house, hourly, salary, applicant tracking, job marketing. And it's really amazing. It's really amazing. I'm so happy every time I see Chef. I remember it was also kind of like the team said to me, Chef is really happy that like this works. This is amazing.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody else to know about it. And I was like, well, that's not going to work that way, right? Rising tides. Like the only way I'm going to survive and keep working well is if, more and more people use us. And I know it was a joke at the time because now everyone, is very happy that, we have 46,000 businesses on the site and we cover fine dining to fast casual, but then also hotels and food service. And, we're providing opportunities to talent. It's not enough to just design it for ease of use and, be able to find opportunities. But okay, diversify it. Where do you want to work? What's important to you? What kind of business would you like to find? How do you filter through to award-winning restaurants because your goal is to work, at a Michelin starred, restaurant, or maybe not. You just want the local, popular spot that's close to your home, so your commute time is less, whatever it may be. How do you take those considerations in and fold it into your product for them?
Hey everyone, Avi Gorin, CEO and co-founder of Marquee, and I want to talk about the customer journey for a second. You never know as a restaurant owner where your guests are truly coming from. End of the day, we do see some patterns around two types of search behaviors: direct versus discovery. Direct search, for an example, would be jumping into Google and saying Cali barbecue hours, right? I know where I want to go to eat, but I'm missing a key detail. I need a little bit more information. Discovery, which is the bulk of searches, is barbecue in San Diego, restaurants near me, takeout near me, right? One of the best ways to be found for more discovery searches is leveraging keywords. Reviews are basically free content for you to leverage. Think about keywords that are relevant to your brand, your location, and include as many of those in your review responses as possible, right? How can you go about doing this? Let's set up reports, utilize tools like Google Trends, find out what's going on in your area and how you can help leverage these keywords and review responses, because someone else is doing that, right? If you need some examples, you could do anything from including summer menu, gluten-free menu, leverage specific menu items like the dreaded and beloved spice pumpkin anything in your review responses, right? Let them know what's coming. Let your reviewers know something they should come back and try. And of course, if all of this just seems overwhelming and daunting because you're already running a restaurant and have enough on your plate, just leverage the team at Marquee to do this for you. We handle all of this. We're experts in this space. We can automate this so it's just another item that you know you are taking care of. Again, that's marquee.com, marquii.com. Know you. However, we did recently buy marquii.com. So if you do misspell it, we got you. You'll still find us. We can still help you.
The results are in. National Restaurant Association show. Kyle and Sarah and myself, we were at the Davos sales tax booth and we were polling restaurant owners on the floor. This was a very unscientific poll, but the results are resounding. Restaurant owners do not like sales tax. Nobody likes sales tax. Doesn't matter what business owner you are, small business, big business. Davo automates the sales tax process. We are so grateful that Davo is the sponsor of this show. They automate sales tax at our Cali barbecue restaurants. It is $50 a month. It integrates with all the major point of sale partners, including Toast. So if you want to sleep at night, if you want to not worry about sales tax, go to Davo, check them out, Davo Sales Tax. Let us know how they're helping automate your sales tax in your restaurant so that we can share your Davo story on digital hospitality. Can you talk about storytelling from a founder standpoint of how have you told the story from the beginning? How are you telling the story now? What would you tell yourself back in the early days of what you've learned over the last 12 years?
Ah, wow. That's a loaded question. I mean, storytelling is so important, right? The big difference between storytelling, I would say, when I started Culinary Agents really kind of took that plunge. It was a different time. And I think that's, back in 2012 when I was fundraising, it was a different time. It was extremely difficult for a female, non-technical, single founder, minority to get funding, quite frankly. It's still challenging, but there's been so many amazing developments since. And so fundraising was just, it was really difficult. And the early storytelling was all about, the challenges of overcoming fundraising. You finally get fundraising and all people want to write about is like how impossible it was for, for us to get fundraising. We finally got it, right? And fast forward, now we're a tech startup that went through fundraising, but we're 12 years in, right? We've focused on how do you add value to the customer? How do you listen and empathize and take action? Not just like, yeah, I get it. And then go continue building the way that you want to build or the way you think something should be built and then selling it to the businesses, right? It's not, technology historically is like build it and then hire salespeople and go sell it, right? And we took a completely different approach because nobody wants a salesperson at 8 p.m., in a restaurant at the bar asking to talk to the manager, right?
Definitely not. No, please.
Um,
No
and
deck
so,
and no deck and demo, please, at 8 p.m.
yeah,
Thank you.
our story now is really, we've built our business um, relationship by relationship, right? Earning the trust and really listening and proving ourselves. We value client success. We value being super responsive when people have
Yeah.
questions. We value designing our product for talent and businesses so that it's really intuitive. It's easy to use. It's extremely cost effective, if not free, and flexible. We focus on adding value first. And then how do you add more value?
Yeah.
And our goal and what we strive to do as a whole team is, we're looking to enhance and help the industry from all directions because, as you said it, rising tides lift all boats. Um, and so the story now is what else? And we challenge ourselves as far as continuing to be innovative, and thinking of what's next is what else can we offer? What else do we do more? What's missing? How can we provide better information and give people access to all the amazing data that we have that's proprietary? And how do
Yeah.
we make it digestible, right? Nobody wants a bunch of boring data,
No
right?
white papers?
Yeah, don't get me started. But
Uh,
what have we been, what are the questions we've been answering over and over again over the years from both talent and businesses? And how can we proactively give them what they want, right? Because we want them to focus on their business. We want them to focus on, their craft. We don't want them to worry about, things like, well, turnover happens. Everybody knows that, right? And there's evolution, but there's technology now, and we strive to be that core technology around hiring and recruiting, to make your lives a little easier and a little more efficient. So you don't have to worry about it as much, and you can focus on worrying about other parts of your business and your craft.
I love that you said that. It's something that we don't talk about often on the show. We talk our Cali Barbecue Media team internally, but the frequently asked questions, it seems such an easy place to start to create content. Yet, as marketers and people in branding, nobody wants to go to frequently because it's not sexy. It's like, oh, that's a sales thing, that's a service thing. We don't want to make a video or something about a frequently asked questions. But if you think about it, like all of these people are asking the same question. So why aren't we answering it in multiple different forms so that people can consume it? They can learn about all the other things that we do.
Absolutely. And I love that I always say like, well, HR is not sexy, right? People aren't
Yeah,
bragging that they're looking for a job, right? So,
correct.
for us, it's like if they're telling us things or we're hearing the same thing over and over again, whether it's a complaint or a compliment,
Yep.
we actually keep running wish lists. We keep running product wish lists, and anyone has a suggestion or a frustration or just, a comment, we log it. We log it. We review it on a regular basis. We look at, logical ways to couple that feedback so that we can build a product to address it. And then we circle back, right? People forget, take the feedback, make the
Yes.
changes, but then circle back.
Yep.
And the response to like, wow, you actually listened to me. And, sure, it may have, taken a couple of months because it wasn't on our roadmap, but here it is, and it's important because if it's going to make your life easier, it's probably going to make other people's lives easier because, based upon what it was, it's probably something other people wanted as well.
Well, also circling back and saying it's a no.
Absolutely. It's the transparency. That's a great suggestion. Right now, it's
Yep.
not on our, roadmap, but I want to let you know when it does. And that is equally, the response to
Equally,
that is
it's
equally
almost more
positive.
it's almost more powerful is that you have the courage and willingness to not ignore it, but to acknowledge somebody's request.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of our core values as well. It's like we are authentic. We don't lead people down the path of like, yeah, yeah, sure, we have that, or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're building it. Okay, well, sometimes it's no, we're not, and this is why, right? It doesn't make sense because of this, or we had something like that, and we actually got a lot of feedback that it wasn't the right thing, and 10 out of 10 times, the person that was requesting it is either like, oh yeah, that makes sense,
Yeah.
or they're just grateful we listened and they may say like, well, I still want it, and we absolutely will add it to the list, and sometimes it does make itself it does make itself into the roadmap and sometimes it doesn't. But either way, we set the expectation and we circle back.
So I know you've been working on adding value and giving out more things for free. Can you share kind of what the initiative is moving forward in 2024, second half of 2024?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited. So we've had the job marketing and applicant tracking tool suite for since the beginning. It was clear that people needed to promote and advertise, and by us consolidating all the distribution channels, including our own proprietary one, it really gave businesses further reach at a more cost-effective way. But what we realized also is that businesses who were using us as their applicant tracking suite, they had sometimes had positions that they didn't want to advertise. It's a position that, we always get great applicants. We always, we don't need to actually push it beyond our own free channels of social media, et cetera.
Yep.
And we love that, except that our tools were, you had to, we only had one option. You had to advertise. You had to pay to distribute the job. And while that's great and efficient, if you have a server position and you're a popular restaurant that people will just apply if they see it, you don't want to pay for that, right?
Yep.
And so we just fully rounded out our suite a couple of months ago, and this is the first time I'm actually publicly talking about it.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah, you've heard it here first.
Amazing. There it is. Digital hospitality exclusive. I love it.
Yeah, is our freemium model where you can post jobs for free. You can post all the jobs you want for free. They will appear on your website if you have our career pages, which is also free, as well as your business profile on Culinary Agents. And then you could select the jobs that you need to advertise, that you need to promote. And the promotion distributes to, all of our partners, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Job to Careers, LinkedIn, our own proprietary channel. And that also gives you access to our AI generated matching for recruiting purposes. So you get this whole full suite of tools if you choose to advertise, but you have a whole suite of free hiring tools, including free job posts. If you just need to have a record of it, if you need to store for compliance and you just need a place to keep everything in one area and manage with your team the hiring process, right? In the past, it was like all or nothing. And Craigslist and other tools, they kind of lack in the back end of how to actually manage and track and do things like collaborate around hires, right? It's a team effort. Sometimes you're not, especially small businesses, you typically don't have like a full-time in-house HR person or even somebody dedicated to it, and maybe a couple of people who are responsible for different roles, and different people need to look at things at different phases of the hiring cycle. So by just giving everyone the basic hiring tools so that you have what you need to do what you need to do, and if you need more, you have different flexible, cost-effective options, and they're non-committal. We get it. Seasonality, we get it all, right? And that's why we emphasize we built this for the industry. There's so many nuances, and we've thought of almost all of them. And if we didn't, people tell us the things that we missed and we fold it into the product.
That's so cool. Do you remember a story from the darkest time while you were building?
Oh man.
We like to do the deep work on this show. I
didn't know I signed up for like a therapy session.
Yeah, it's part of the deal. We have an amazing community of people that respect the truth of, one of the reasons why we started this show was when I went to school, I thought that I was going to take these business classes and I was going to be blown away with the content, and the content wasn't good. The only good content was when an entrepreneur came and they told us their truth, and their truth had successes, it had failures, it had bumps and bruises all along the way. And I was sitting there writing all these notes. And I mean, that's what we try to do on this show is, we have a lot of tech founders that are going to listen to this show, and we don't want them to get the false impression, Alice, that
I love it.
Everything's as easy as building Culinary Agents was for you.
I love it. I love it. And thank you for asking the questions. And I've got two major parts of the answer here. And one is an example. So to answer the question, if I had to look back at some of the kind of most challenging times for me early on, it really was around fundraising. A lot of the roadblocks and the challenges we had I had initially was convincing investors that this is a huge community that had so much potential. They mattered so much, and helping them was for the greater good of like
Yeah.
humanity, basically, right? It's like the largest employer in America. It's like the largest first job employer of young folks. It's flexible work. I mean, there's so many wonderful things about this industry, but it's fragmented. And so to paint a big picture and to show an investor, ultimately why they should care and why this would be a great investment for them was challenging. And what at the time when I was raising, what I was up against was like Facebook and all these the companies and a lot of the delivery companies that were raising money at the time as well,
Right.
that just had a different value prop. Like everybody needs to eat, right? Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not everybody needs a job as a dishwasher, right? And so convincing and building a story and just really like pounding that, like hundreds of meetings, it was challenging. It's very difficult also while building the company, making
Yeah.
sure that I was finding and hiring the right folks, but also supporting the customers. And I didn't sleep much for many years, and I remember early on
You
also
sleep
just
now?
a little bit more different. I sleep better now for sure.
Better.
Um, and so those are a couple of dark moments, but I'll do the kind of the bright silver lining on that, for the entrepreneurs in the house here, tech entrepreneurs, is that, early on, um, the the kind of external forces were basically pushing for like, fundraising, right? You saw all these articles, of like, oh, they raised all this money, blah, blah, blah. And when I kind of got more into it, and I was very fortunate of, after raising my initial seed round, bringing on the two amazing co-founders who had all this prior experience, was that the goal, and I remember explaining this to the team as well, because you kind of get sucked into it, right? Like the goal is not to raise money, right? Actually, when you raise money, you're selling off
Yeah.
pieces of your company and your equity. And over time, you continue to get diluted, everybody who has, a stake in it. And, you end up working sometimes your mission kind of gets skewed. You kind of have to answer to different folks. You lose certain controls that would allow you certain freedoms. And, those are just kind of byproducts of like raising tons and tons of money. And at the time, it wasn't very clear. I'm so happy. We were going out to raise another round, and we remember kind of looking at our product roadmap and the story, back to the, how important a story is and how to like paint this story. And, we took a step back and we're like, look, at the end of the day, like we're here building stuff to support this industry. We want to build things the way that we want to build them. We want to be able to prioritize the feedback that's, given to us, and not build, some of these potentially random things that nobody really asked for because they paint a better picture of revenue generation, which is what you have to do. I get it, and, to not give away that freedoms, we really took a step back and said, okay, well, how much would money be worth for us? Like if we take money and we have to give up certain things, freedoms or, autonomy, et cetera, is it worth it? Right. At that time in our company. And, we decided to stop fundraising and just focus on the business and focus on the customers and keep building, right? And you have to shift. You have to make you have to shift and you have to prioritize. But when you do it and you have your team on the same page and you just put your head down and go, it's a beautiful thing. And we've been able to kind of control our own destiny for the past 7 years or so, which has allowed us to continue to grow the way that we want to and to do what we want. And that's a story I think that isn't told that often, right? And it's not, it's not expected, especially if you're talking about like a tech startup raises money, your goal is to grow at all costs as quickly as possible, either raise more money or exit or die, right? And those are your options,
That's the
right?
story. That's how the story goes. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really important to get the right, align yourself with the right team members, with the right investors, get that smart money. And if you can you can bootstrap and keep scrappy and keep doing it, without bringing more and more unnecessary burdens and potentially people or whatever to the fold, that's something I think that I would tell my younger self, good job
Can you
by
share,
default.
can you share a little bit about the partnership ecosystem that you have, not just with other restaurant tech partners, but also like social media partners like Meta, TikTok? How does that work in your overall strategy?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, and it's definitely it's I don't know if partnership would be the right word. We pay for advertising, right?
We can call them a partner, sure.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I like that. The
Yeah.
partnership works as such. We're very fortunate. We continue to be bootstrapped and scrappy, or at least
Yep.
have that mentality, because
Yep.
I feel like, that's just smart business decisions. We utilize all the free platforms, like the free things that we can do to get, our message out, to get, to promote ourselves.
Yep.
And we selectively do promotions on, social media platforms as well. Admittedly, I think it's something that business owners have to do all the time. You have to pick and choose based upon your bandwidth and, free or not, if you don't have time to, produce the right content, or even to do something regularly, it could become another stress point. Right.
Yep.
And that's even something as simple as, like, do you manage multiple handles? Okay.
Yep.
Do you have a process and, or a person to make sure that that is being maintained? Or, if people are commenting, is somebody responding? Whatever the strategy is, I think taking advantage and understanding the different options, but then really realistically building out a plan on how to utilize it to the best of your ability. And it could be a starting point that grows over time. You could start somewhere and then you reach a point where you're like, okay, well, we need more, or let's try this. That's the beauty, I think, of embracing some of this technology today. You also get to tap into different audiences, right?
Do you participate in community events? Do you participate in conferences? Where do you guys show up as industry wide?
Yeah, absolutely. The answer is yes. We are selective. We tend to support. We're always supporting I'll say the workers and volunteers side of
Got it.
things. That's
Cool.
something that we've always done from the very beginning. We get involved with culinary schools, hospitality schools, student volunteers, vocational training programs. I say one of our earliest supporters, Richard Grousman from CCAP, trains students, high school students, for culinary careers. Amazing nonprofit, and we do a lot of things to support, those types of efforts. I think it's really important to stay involved in the community, but again, don't stretch yourself too thin. One of the things that we always see is that this industry is also super generous with both their time and product, and people, organizations, all these, great causes. Sometimes are not shy for asking for more and more and more and more. And, you take a step back and you're like, well, how can we participate but support the people who are donating their time and food, and make their, experience a little more pleasant. So we'll do, like, gift bags for the workers, sponsor something for the student volunteers for a particular event. We're really, I think that's so important, is to align yourself with organizations um, and people that are like-minded and, are supporting the same causes.
For sure. Yeah. Every single week on Wednesday and on Friday, if you guys are listening to this, if you're watching this, we want to hear from you. We want you on stage on LinkedIn Live. So we do a Rising Tide LinkedIn Live call. Digital hospitality leaders from all over the globe, they come up on stage. It's a chance for you to be on the podcast, to talk about your restaurant, if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you're a content creator. This is my call out to you. It's a chance for you to, my grandfather, he taught me, stay curious, get involved, ask for help. Curiosity brings you to a podcast, it brings you to a book, it brings you to a trade show, but you have to get involved and do the work. Get uncomfortable, come on stage. We want to hear from you. Your voice matters. and finally asking for help. Alice, I am truly grateful that we got the chance. I know that our paths will cross again. I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing. I can't wait to see this freemium model that you guys are rolling out. I can't wait for more people to be using it. You're going to pass the 2 million member mark. We're at 49,000 businesses. It's going to be 50,000. We're going to look back and be like, oh, remember when you only had 49,000? Now you have 1 million businesses using culinary agents. It's such a cool thing. I'm grateful for this opportunity. And what's the best place for people to keep in touch with you? On LinkedIn?
LinkedIn, we have Culinary Agents or Alice Cheng. And then also we're on Instagram, and
you guys crush on Instagram. You do really good. Whoever on the team is doing that, give them a shout out.
Absolutely will.
Yeah.
Jen.
Jen, go Jen.
Go Jen.
If you guys want to keep in touch with
Jen
me,
and Ari.
I am weirdly available at Shawn P. Walchef, ShawnPWalchef, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, all the places. Weirdly available. We care about you. We want you to grow. We are grateful that you guys listen to the show. Please share it with a friend and check out Culinary Agents. Alice, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Shawn.